So this will be our last thing to. This is so wide these days. It's no longer the other CSS that was there in 2010 and the rest. So it's a bit wide. So I would request you students to put in more efforts and go online, look for resources, get textbooks, read more about CSS. Because like I said, this semester we're supposed to look at so many languages. So I'll just give you an introduction to those languages. So, but for example, what I've taught now, you could write some CSS for your pages. So, or you could even understand someone's CSS. See, that's also important. You look at CSS and you're able to understand that CSS. So each element in a document is considered to be a rectangular box, and this consists of content area. It has some padding, it has a border, and it has a margin. So every element that we've been creating in HTML, let it be a drop-down menu, let it be a checkbox, let it be a paragraph, let it be a caption, all these have rectangular boxes. They are seen as rectangular boxes. And all these, you could have margins for them, you could have borders for them, you could have padding for them, you could even have, of course, the content. So in a paragraph, you can have some content, you could have some padding, that is the distance between the content and the inner walls of that cell, of that paragraph. Then it can also have a border. We'll see how you can put a border. So you can put like a box around that paragraph. You could have margins. So this is the space between that element with other elements. So a paragraph with another element, like a paragraph or a drop down or an input box. So everything, all the elements that we've created or that we've seen in HTML are considered as rectangular areas. Let it be a span, let it be a div, all these are considered as rectangular boxes. So the content comes here. So that's the inner edge. You have some padding. You can give it a border, and then you can also have margin. A margin, that is a space between that element with other elements. The padding is the space between the border and the inner contents of that element. Okay, so this box model is so common. So common. Okay, so every element has a border style property. And this usually controls whether the element has a border, and if so, the style of the border. So this is the only thing that tells us that an element has a border. So you just set border style, and then you say values. So you say value, so you put a full colon. Semakola says, should the padding be transparent? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Should it be transparent? What do you mean? It's just space. Padding is just space. Margin is just a space. I don't know what you mean by transparent, but it's usually I think transparent, because if you had a background in your body, then that space would just show the background. I don't know that I've answered your question. That space, when you leave that space, you can see the background. Okay, I think I've answered this question. Okay, so these are some of the values that you can have in a border style. You could say none, you could say dotted, you could say dashed, you could say double, groove, you could say ridge, you could say inset and outset. So we'll try out a few. In your free time, you'll try out the rest and try to see the differences between. So let's try out something. Let me just close this. No. Open another window. So ours should be CSS. This is B, right? Okay. So you're going to create a new file. So you say new. We'll put the basic HTML. Have I connected to my wireless on this phone? Just my phone here. My internet, the data is usually slow. The wireless is faster. So basic HTML done. HTML. So in this, I can have my style here now. And then I can have, for example, paragraph. I could say paragraph. And I say border, style, and I put dashed, for example. So I'm saying when I have a paragraph, it will have its border as dashed. So let me open a new window here for our class. This will do. Okay. So I can say localhost, go to dist2, go to CSS, and then look for a folder which is B. Then I can look for border.html. So if I click on this, you see now my paragraph has. So I've zoomed in, that's why it's that big, but it has a border, and the border is dashed. The border is a bit dashed. So if I change the value from dashed to dotted, then you would see something like this. So these are dashes and these are dots now. See the dots? You can also use the other ones. Double. I will stop on double because there are so many others. So that's the double. Now the double, our border is small, so I can, let me just give it a border width so that it's bigger. So I can say border. I'm going to talk about this border width. Border width. And then I could say thick. So now let me say thick. And if I refresh, do you see the border? That's what they mean by double. So there are double lines. Is that okay? Okay. That's our paragraph and that's the border. Now the other thing you could have is the border width that I've talked about. And you could say border width values. Then you have thin, you have medium, you have thick, or you can even have a length in pixels. So instead of me saying thick, I could say 10 pixels. So you could put a value like that. My screen is small. So you could actually have a value like that. And you get something totally different. You see that is bigger now. The border is a bit bigger. So there are some things you could do with that. How does dotted dashed look like? I think I've done that. I've answered that. Semakura, haven't I showed you the differences? You want me to do them with this size? I don't know. Dotted with that size, have something like this. You have dots around that. That is if you increase the size, of course, to 10 pixels. And then dashed be something like this. Okay, be something like that. Hope I've answered your question, Semakura. Semakura, are you there? Say yes or no, and then you get to ask you yes. Okay. So But it's because it's so big because I've you see I've increased my size to 500%. So if I reset, it should be looking like that. That's how the paragraph should be. But because I want you people to see, I have to make this paragraph bigger by zooming in. Okay. So I don't want to see you guys drawing such in the exam. You can say dashed and you draw those big dashes. No, it doesn't look that big. But just because I have to zoom in, because I'm sure some students are using very small screens. Some of you are using your phones for the class. So now with the border style and border width, you could even define which border you're interested in. So I can come here, instead of saying border style, I say border and I say top style. See that? So I can say top, I can say bottom. So you can be specific. You don't have to say border style. No, you can say border style bottom, border style top, border style left. And then border style would say right. And then you can have different things. You can say dashed, dotted, say double. You could say groove. Groove. I can say the groove. So you will have your paragraph having different borders. You see that? So the left is different from the top, different from the left. Right. So dashed, dotted, double, and groove. Is that okay? Okay, so you can even do something like that. Now we go to the other thing. So you can also define a border color. So you could decide to say, I want a border color of forest green. You could say, I want a border color of forest green. And your paragraph will have such. But now this one is groove, so it has some shade, some shadow. So this shadow will stay like that. It won't be green. So you could do things like that. Then you could also be specific and you say border bottom color. Instead of saying this, you could say border and say bottom color. And this would only be for the bottom border. The rest would be black. What if the border color is not set? What happens to the border? The border becomes black. See, the default is black. This is black, right? So if you don't set the color, it will be black. Okay. So you can write things like this. You could be specific on which border you're interested in. So border, we have what we call the border collapse. Border collapse. And this is so common with tables. The border collapse is so common with tables. So if I had two tables, And raise the hand. Someone has raised the hand, but again the hand went off. Even some of you are testing out things. I wanted to get a table. I don't know where I can get a nice table. A nice big table. Okay, I think I have one now. Okay, so I'll pick some table here. And let's go this side and have our table in the code. So on a paragraph, I'm going to add a table here, a very long table. So this table, if I run it in the browser, would look like that. You see, it looks like this because I don't have the border set. I don't have a border set. So if I want, I can set a border for the table. So in CSS now, you see I've not put a border here, but I can come here and set a border. I can set table, and then I say border. Border style, right? Style, and I say, which one is the best here? Solid. This is the most common one, solid. So you want just a full line. You don't want dotted or anything. So if I refresh this, you see they put a border, but the border only applies to the body, sorry, the table. So it's only the table that has the border. So if I wanted to have the TH and TDs also have borders, then I would come here. You remember this separation of this? So you could say TH, not TR, but TH and TD, because those are the ones that contain information. So if I do this, then my table would change to something like that. I don't know whether you understand why the table usually has double things. Because you're defining a border for the table and also for each cell. So that's why the table usually has these. That's why it looks like that. That's why it looks like that. Now, you could now do the border collapse. So you could say border collapse, and you say collapse. And then when you refresh your table, it would look like that. I remember someone asked me that question in class. I don't know who it was. So you see, you can have your border collapse like that. Now, of course, it would look better if you had some paddings, but we don't have any paddings here. So we're going to talk about paddings, but I can put for you some paddings and you see what happens. So you can say padding. I'll just use one value and I say 10 pixels. So we say the padding is the space between the contents and the walls of the cells, right? Do you see that? My table looks better now because I'm leaving some spaces in the cells. So you'd have such a table. So you just write a few things and you come out with a neat table. Any questions before I continue? Guys, this might look like a lot, but you have to give them time, try them out, see what you get, and appreciate CSS. So with just this, you have a nice table, a very neat table. You're going to see other things that you could add and you even improve this better. Okay. Now, I'm sure you've seen things like this. So instead of me saying border style, border width, border color, I would just write the one thing border. I say border, and I say 5 pixels. So you start with the width, the order is the width. Now you have to follow this order. So width, then the style. Now I'm saying solid, you could say dashed, you could say dotted, you could say groove, you could say all those. Then you also put the color after. So this is the order. If you just want to use the word border, but like I said, me, I prefer breaking them down into the many, many things I want, rather than saying border and then I start defining all these. You might forget the order, the right order. Okay, so let's look at an example called border.html. So border.html is here. So here is an example of so who can write for me this, the CSS that is here? What do you think was written here? What do I write to get this? Which CSS would I write to have this? Write in the chat. Just type it in the chat and we'll see whether you remember what we used. So border Morunji modes, but you're forgetting the dashes. There are dashes between those words. Border dash top dash style. Don't forget that. Clear Morris. Don't write that in the exam otherwise. And the first B is not capital B, so it should be lowercase b. I know phones just of course do things for you, but it will be border dash top dash style full : dotted. Then you can terminate. Then you should also put the color, of course, isn't it? Border top color. Which color is that? That color is red. Then you could also write the one for the bottom by saying border bottom style. The style is, can I see the answer in the chat? The style is, an answer in the chat for that style. Morinji says dashed. Okay. So it's dashed. So which border do you think, what do you think did this here? This and this. What would you write for this? This whether people know this now. What do you write for this? For the left and the right. The left looks gray, the right one looks black. So Chimera says it's groove. Okay, we'll see. So what causes this is just the border. The bigger the border, the bigger the thing. So tables have like a shadow effect. You know the shadow effect, right? So here it's dark, and as you get this side, it becomes light. So there's no CSS there. So here is the CSS that was written. So it says border top width. So this is even a width on the top because it's not that big. So it's medium. The border top width is medium. Border bottom width is thick. So if you're keen enough, you'll see that this is thick. This here is a bit thick. It's thicker than this. This is medium and this is thick. Then we have border top color is red, border bottom color is blue, border top style is dotted, border bottom style is dashed. So you have to write all these to have that kind of effect. Now you see we stop there. Now what makes the left and the right that big is this border here in the table. Our border here is 5. So that's why that border is that big. Then we have a paragraph which has a border style, dashed, border width thin, and then the color is green. So these are files I'm going to share, and then you can be able to play around with. Someone says 5 what? What is 5 what? In HTML, we said a table has a border size. So the bigger the number, the bigger the border. So our border here is just 5. You can say border 1, you can say border 2, but this time we have 5. You can even have border 10 if you want. That's why our border is here. There's nothing like I don't know what 5 what means. This is our table. Remember the other table of fruit juice, where we had an apple juice, orange juice, and a juice that we called screwdriver. You know, anything is possible in Uganda. You can find a juice called screwdriver. I don't know what that would do to someone. Okay. I think we are done with the borders. Someone is asking, what's the difference between hexa values and hexa values and what? HSL. These are all color coding schemes. They're just color coding schemes, and so I would say SSL is a new thing. HSL is something new, and the most common ones are just the hexa and the RGB, the RGB and the hexa. There's even what they call RGBA. So it's cool. What's HSL in full, first of all? It's something like saturation and what? It's not about the saturation of colors. So it's just a form. It's a way of also writing colors. But like I said, it's a bit new. It's a bit new. So, but like I said, whichever method you use, you can always get all those kind of colors. So, but I think with the HSL, you don't change so many things. You change a few. You just change like one value. So you have some percentages, but you can change one value and you're able to have so many colors. But you can read about it and you can also read about it and see. I've seen someone use this HSL in machine learning, but I don't know why they chose that anyway. So, but it's just like the hexa or the RGB. Okay. So margins. So we're looking at borders. Now we're going to look at margins. So like I said, the margins are the space between the border of an element and its neighbor elements. So the space between an element and its border are elements. So the margin around an element can be set with things like margin left, margin top, margin bottom, margin right. You could also say margin alone, and you put only one value, and that will apply for all. Apply for all. Okay, so so here is an example. We have an image, C21 0.jpg, and we are saying float right, but we are saying on your margin left, leave 0.3 inches, and on the margin bottom leave 0.31 inches. So you see, we are interested. We are only interested in. Just a minute. Okay, so I'm back. So I had to silence my kids, otherwise these kids can make lots of noise. So we're talking about what margins, right? Okay, so the space between an element and its neighbor element. So now this example should be this. You see this example? So you're saying an image should float on the right. So the image will be on the right, but you want to leave some spaces here. So if you want to leave space here and some space here, so that the text is not so close to the image, then you go to the image and you say margin left, because you're interested in leaving space here, which is the margin left, and then margin bottom, which is this. So that's why we wrote something like this. So margin left and margin bottom. If you wanted, you could leave one on top, but you're not interested in the top, you're interested here, and you're not interested here, because there's no text here. So if I wanted this to float on the left, then I would say margin right and margin bottom. So you define these according to where you want to leave space. So for that case, we wanted the left and the bottom. Now, here is another example. And in this case, we have margin top, and we're saying 100 pixels for a paragraph. Margin bottom, 100 pixels. We're saying margin right, 150. And then we're saying margin left, 50. So you can define your thing like that. But now, you see, this is too big. This is too big. It will be hard for you to write. Oh, this is a lot of code. Now, with the margin, I can even write it like this. I can say, I want my margin to be 25 pixels for the top, 50 for the right, 75 for the bottom, and 100 for the left. So this is how you write it. If you ever find margin with the 4 values, it means the first one, the first one is for the top. So we start from the top. So we start from the top here. We go to the right. We go to the bottom and go to the left. Is that okay? Top, right, bottom, left. That's how we write this. So this would be, the first one will be for the top, the next one will be for the right, the next one will be for the bottom, and the final one will be for the left. That's how we read the margins here. Is that okay? Okay. So this is the other image, and I could also I would want to first give you some. I think I should have this somewhere before I continue. Otherwise, some of you might forget. Let me create a file called margin. So I'll just say new. I say margin.html. I say basic HTML. I say style. type text CSS. Then I can have this. So this will help you. I'll share this file and it will help you remember this concept here, because it's important. It's very, very important. So I'm going to explain this. So there are some times when you find someone has written something like this. Someone says, I want my headings to have margin 50 with just one value. See, this is one value. So if you find one value, that means this applies to all the 4 parts. So you're saying leave 50 pixels at the top, leave 50 pixels at the right, leave 50 pixels at the bottom, and leave 50 pixels at the left. So if you find one value, just know it applies for all of them. Now, if you find 2 values, if someone says margin and says 25 pixels, 75 pixels. So the first one is for the vertical. And the second one is for the horizontal. So the vertical is top and bottom, isn't it? So this will be top and bottom. Is that okay? Top, bottom, and then this will be left and right, or right and left. Because that's how we usually start from the right. So top, bottom, right and left. So just a minute. Now, so the other thing, so if you find 2, that means that this is the top and the bottom, right and left, vertical and horizontal. So please always refer to this. Now, if I have 3 values, if I have 25, for example, 50 and 75. So the first one is for the top. The second one is for the left and right, so right and left. And then the last one will be for the bottom. So top, right and left, then bottom. You could say top, horizontal, and bottom. Now, if you find 4, like I said, this would be top, right, bottom, and left. Hope that is okay. So someone is asking about position. I know what positioning is. What is positioning now? You rephrase your question. I don't know what positioning is. So that's the idea for the margin. Okay. We go back to our slides. Now let's do the padding. So we said the padding, you see, I had already used some padding. So I think I'd talked about padding and I'd said padding, I'd only put like 10 pixels, you saw what happened. So if I have padding again, so padding is the same as, so the values would be the same as the margins. So I could say padding, top, padding, right, padding, bottom, padding, left. So I would have padding, top, so like that. So this is usually the order we follow. So again, if it was padding and you found the value like 1, Padding with 1, that means it applies to all the 4 sides. If it's padding with the 2 values, it will be vertical and horizontal. If it's padding with the 3 values, it will be top, horizontal, and bottom. And if it's padding with 4, it will be top, right, bottom, and left. So, same idea as margins. So here is an example for margins and paddings. I will go to that example and we see what is there. So these are just paragraphs. These are just paragraphs and they are showing you the different margins and the paddings. So I'll just zoom in. So you see here, for example, they are saying margin equal to 0.2 inches. So the margin is this space here, isn't it? This space here is the margin. And padding, they are saying 0.2 inches. So the padding is this. The space between the border and the contents of the cell. But the margin is the space between this and this paragraph and this other paragraph. So you see here, they say 3 inches. So you see the space here is a bit bigger. It's bigger than the 2. And you can see here they are saying 1 inch. So 1 inch would be some distance that is small. That's why you can see there's a smaller distance here. So this is 1 inch and these are 2 inches. You see, this one starts here and this one starts here. So that's the difference. Okay. So you see here these are on the same line because this one is 3 and this one is 2. So you can even tell the difference there. So if you come here, you find this paragraph has a margin 3 inches. So you see the margin is a bit bigger. The margin here, this is the space. And you see the space is here a bit bigger. And then the padding is 0.1 inches. So the space here is small. This is the padding I'm talking about here. Now here, there are no paddings, no borders, no padding. That's why it's like this. Of course, we gave it a background. This is the background color that is making the paragraph like that. And it is 0.4 inches. So you see there's a lot of space here. So the margin here is 3 and here is 4 inches, 0.4 inches. Now with this, we don't have margins. That's why we have this kind of space. No margin, no borders, but the padding is 4. So you see the space here is a bit bigger. So all this is here. So you have a first paragraph with class 1, and the margins are defined and the paddings. See the background color is this. So this is a shade of black or a shade of gray. That's why, because these values are the same, CO, CO, CO. You're combining the same amount of color and you have that. So the border style is solid. That's why there's a bit of a line. So the same, this is paragraph 2, so paragraph 3, paragraph 4. And then they give our paragraphs classes, class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, class 5. And this is the last paragraph that doesn't have anything, that doesn't have any class. So I'll give you this code. You will also look at it and compare. You'll even change the values. Now, div tags with the box model. So now this is a calculation. I'll show you an example where I actually brought it. Was it in an exam or in a test? I usually bring it in the exam. So I tell you to calculate the total element width. I can also tell you to calculate the total element height. So I can tell you about the height, and I can also tell you about the width. So, and these are some of the things you consider. Now, you see the width here. For example, in this case, our width is 320 pixels. So that's the width of our div. Now, so you get the width if I wanted to know the total width of the element. So first of all, I add the width because it has a width. Plus, I add, see padding, they are saying 10 pixels with only one value. So if you say padding 10 pixels, it means the top, the right, the bottom, the left all have the size 10. So if I'm calculating the width, it's this, the width is this space here. That means I would calculate the left padding, the space they leave here, and the space they leave here. So that will be 10 times 2, because it's all 10, so 10 times 2 will be 20. So left padding plus right padding. Then I'll add the size of the border. So the border, you see border is also saying 5 pixels. So the border is taking 5, so the left border and the right border are all taking 5. So 5 times 2 would be 10. That's how I get the 10. So left plus right border is 5 plus 5, which is 10. Now, the margin, they are saying it's 0. So left and right margin will be 0 plus 0, which is 0. And I will be able to get a width of 350 pixels. So I can get to know how big my element would be. So how would I calculate then the total height? So what would be the total height of this? Right now we don't have, of course, you don't have the height, but I will get an example where you can calculate the height. So if it's the height, then of course you'd look at the height that is given plus the total padding, top padding, bottom padding, plus top border, bottom border, plus top margin and top and bottom border. So you're interested in the height, so that means you're interested in the top and the bottom. So let me see whether I can get you an example that was in an exam. So I would come here and I see whether it's actually there. So as I open my exam, let me first move it onto the other screen so that I'm sure whether this thing is actually there. Okay. And if it's there, I need to comment out the answers first so that I see the answers you people get. And then you'll get to see how easy my exam is. So control plus. I comment it out and control plus. Okay, control T. So this is an exam for 2020. It's not an old exam. It's the one they did last time. So I will share. So that you have an idea how an exam is set by me. So you see, these are things I've taught. For example, draw this. I give you the code and you're supposed to draw this table like this. So this is a marking guide. Now my question is this one here, the one I'm interested in. So let me first see whether I can zoom into that. If something doesn't get lost, it gets lost. So that is the best I can go. May you please share the exam. Why do you want the exam? You want to get 100 in my paper. Sometimes I copy the same questions and I paste them there. So you see that? This is the paper people failed. I don't know why people fail really. Simple papers. So this is a div. It has a width. It has padding. Now you see I have two values here. You remember the order. Then I have a border with the solid. Then I have the margin. and then I have the height. So width height. So let's all try this out. What would be, can you calculate the total element width? Can you also calculate the total element height? So I'll give you 5 minutes to do that. So 5 minutes. Hope you've had the question. The question is there, it's number 4. And we need to calculate the total element width and the total element height. So you see, these are 4 marks, 2 marks. But most people fail this number. Okay, so you start. You want to practice, you're practicing now. I usually talk, I show you this in class even. Now like this table here was in class. So which other practicing do you want? My exam, like I said, is for only people who attend class. You don't attend, you fail. Okay, 5 minutes. Semakula is posting 194. I don't know what is 194. People have started failing. But at least you fail in class than failing in the exam, isn't it? Oh God. Aye. Well, some people have, most people, most people have failed anyway. I don't know that I have anyone who has passed. Oh, I believe all of you are failing. This is serious. Yeah. So far, one has passed. So all of you would, I think I know now why my students failed my paper. No one is passing. No one. Hey. Okay. I think I've seen some answers, but let me show you the. Let me first show you the answer for the first thing. Then you will calculate the other one, isn't it? So the width is actually 192. How do you get the width? The width is 120 here. Hope my microphone is on. Yeah, okay. So this is 120. 120 is for the width. If you go to padding, this would be top, bottom, and this would be right and left. So meaning right and left is the width, isn't it? So I would use 11 now. So 11 times 2. Then the border, actually I have 2 plus signs, I don't know why. It should be 1 plus sign here. So then the border, with the border, it's 15 pixels, so meaning it's the border left and right, isn't it? So I would say 15 times 2. Now, the margin, if you have margin, if you have the margin 11 pixels, this would be for the top, isn't it? And then this would be for the horizontal, left and right, right and left. And this would be for the bottom. So I would use 10 pixels in this case. So I use 10, which is 10 times 2. So I think if you add all this, you get 192. Yes, it's vertical for padding. It's vertical and horizontal. This is vertical. That is top and bottom. For top, the top and bottom is for the height of the div. Top and bottom is for height of the div. Left and right is the one for the width. Guys, the width is horizontal, right? So you use left and right. You don't use top and bottom. Use this space here and this space here. Why are we multiplying by 2? Because we have 2. We have left and right. So we multiply by 2. And this one, this 11 here specifies both left and right, isn't it? We have two paddings. The one here, the space you leave here, and the space you leave here. So the one you leave on the left and the one you leave on the right. Someone is saying, how when it's horizontal? What do you mean how when it's horizontal? Some of you should raise your hands and I allow you to talk because it seems Maurice allowed to talk. You talk. You unmute and talk because I think.
Okay, you said the format is vertical, horizontal. And
What is vertical to you? What is vertical to you? Is it top, bottom, or left, right?
Me, I thought vertical, like when we draw the lines, the vertical lines, it is left and right.
Do you see how the cursor is moving?
That's vertical.
Yeah, my cursor is moving. That is vertical, right?
Yes.
So it's top, bottom.
Okay.
It's top and bottom. This is the vertical space. And then horizontal is this one here.
Okay.
So any other question? Guys, if you have a question, you raise your hand. I give you permission to talk. Like I said, me, I have to control my class. I don't want people unmuting when they have nothing to say. You've seen people raising hands without anything to say. So that's why I use webinars. Not in bad faith, but just in good faith. So if you have a question, raise your hand, ask. Raise your hand, ask. So can we now calculate the height? Is it possible? So I've shown you how to calculate the width. So can you calculate the height now? And let's now get the right answers. So I'll give you 2 minutes only. 2. Some of you are not participating. You're not interested in waiting for me to give you an answer. Okay, let me ask, which value would you use here? Of course, the height is 120 pixels, isn't it? So it's 120 for the height. Which value would you use for the padding? It is 13, right? So 13 times 2, because this is for both the top and bottom. 13 times 2 would be 26. For the border, it's 15. So 15 times 2 would be 30. Now, when you reach here, this is the top and this is the bottom. Because this is for horizontal, right? For left and right, or right and left, whatever you want to call it. And this is for top and this is for bottom. So it's 11 plus 11, or 11 times 2, because they are all 11. So which answer do you get? Do you get 190 like some of you are doing? Now Akuram Chiega has gotten the answer. People are getting the what? The answer. Thank you. Okay. So people have now noticed. So, and that would be the answer. Allow to talk. You can unmute. Akram Chiega.
So I thought the 15 pixels of the border is only for the left and right.
You see, this border is not specifying which one we are using. Are you seeing two values here? It's only one value. Like I said, if it's one value, that means it's top, right, bottom, and left. It will be for all of them. If it's one value, if there are two values, the way we had two values here, the first value is for the top and bottom, and the second value is for the right and left. If there are three values, the first one is for the top, the second one is for the horizontal, which means right and left, and then the last one would be for the bottom. Margin, where's the margin? Margin is here, isn't it? So this is the one that is confusing you. So the first value, these are three values. This is 1, 2, and 3. And this is the third value. So the first one would be for the top. Like I said, we start from the top. Then, now since there are 3, the last one would be for the bottom. And then the one in the middle will be for the horizontal. We said this will be a top, horizontal, and bottom. So this would be for top, this would be for right and left, and this would be for the bottom. Akram again has a question. You can unmute.
No, sir. No, I don't have I finished asking my question.
Okay. But your card is still up. Okay, you have removed it. Okay. So that's the idea. That's why I said I need to teach this class when people are fresh. Because these margins are very, very important. Otherwise, it might be hard for you to play around with the space that you have on your page. These margins are very, very, very key. And like you've seen, if you leave some margins and paddings, your page looks better. It's good to leave some spaces. Otherwise, you remember the other table I showed you. When I put padding, it looked better. You don't want words touching the borders. So this is an exam that I set. Some of these I haven't taught. So this is PHP, string len, string pose, string reverse. Man. So this is how the exam looks like. It's all code. There are a few questions. This is just section A. So this is the theory part. These are things that we studied in class. Client server, the methods, HTTP methods. Then now I start bringing real code. So this is HTML, this is a form. And I don't usually organize it for you. I just paste things there. So then you're supposed to write, this is JavaScript now. I haven't taught JavaScript, so you write things like that. I give you an output, and you're supposed to write the code. I ask you a question like this, you write this code to connect to the database. I give you such a statement, and you're supposed to write HTML. You see, that's all HTML. I give you SQL tables, and you're supposed to do joins. Do you know joins? I'm going to teach joins very soon. So you're supposed to get outputs like these. Then you write SQL statements. So it's all about code, the CSS. So write an external level CSS that uses the pseudo class selector to change the background color of a button to forest green. You see, I've been using a lot for forest green in the class. So if I bring this in the exam, you'll be knowing. But if you've never attended the class, you be like, forest green. What is forest green? How do I write forest green? Yes, it's just a word. You're supposed to use the word. So you remember this input type button. You remember this hover. I told this. So you're combining this selector, the attribute selector with the pseudo class selector, the hover. So we've studied this border style, dotted, background color blue. See, background repeat. We've done the background repeat, right? You see, so all these are things that I've taught. How do you link CSS in HTML? This is what I've taught. You see, I even give it 3 marks, and people fail. People fail. So, what exactly do you want? But I don't know what students want really. This I taught in a class. This we tried it out. Something like this. So I bring this and you fail. I give you the code to draw the table, or I draw the table, you write the code. You see, so these are things you know. And this is for 2019, 2020. This is for last year. You see, they did it in December 2020. So you guys are going to do it in January. Then people say my paper is hard. My paper is not hard. It's easy for those who attend the class. You don't attend the class, you fail. See, like now we've spent a lot of time on this thing here. Of course, I have to bring it in the exam because I've spent a lot of time explaining this, and it's very important in CSS. If you can't understand this, then you don't know CSS. So here is an example of a 2-column page layout. So I'll open this page, but I would want us to, let me first copy this name here. Okay. I'll create a file. So I'll create a file, save as HTML, 2-column HTML. So I'll copy that code from the other file and paste it there. So this is XHTML with CSS. So you see here we have the prologue, where the prologue, the doc type, public. We are using XHTML 1.1.1.dtd. And then we have a simple HTML. We have a namespace here, XML namespace. So this is XHTML, isn't it? So when you start writing your code, say body font family is Veranda. If it's not there, they use Arial. If it's not there, they use sans serif. And you're saying the margin, so I can organize this code better, so that it's readable. It's always good to organize this code. So like that, and then have this here. If you have your code organized like that, then it's more readable. So you could have it here or there. So, but usually I think the default is somewhere there. So you organize your code well. Then you bring this here, press enter. When you press enter, they usually take you where it's supposed to be. Same applies to this. I have so many columns. I have the wrap or the wrapper. Then I have the left column and I have the right column. I can increase the width here to 200, not 200, 150. Say 150. I could, so I can have this here and this here. So it's good to organize this code like this so that it's more readable. So I could do that. Okay. So I have a logo. The logo has so this is solid bottom. Then I have content. So this has padding. Then I have float right. So this is an example that you can also look at, and but there are better examples, of course, online. I will show you some of them. So always organize your code well. Otherwise, it will be hard for you to read. So you see your code, if your code is like this, you can easily move around and read and press enter here. Add spaces, because these spaces are ignored. So add spaces so that your code is a bit readable. Don't just type everything on one line. Let each property be on its line. Okay, so that's my CSS. Okay, this is supposed to be inside, so I could also push these. Since the style is supposed to be inside, I can push this inside a bit, like that. Then I'll have my CSS, because the CSS is supposed to be inside the head. So these spaces are not needed, but I can also have this title come down here. You could also have this go down, so you could have that. To make your code readable. See, that looks better now. So the same applies to this. You could, so this should be here, that should be there. And so when you press a tab, it usually shows you where things are supposed to be. So, so this should be somewhere there. I think we have left some spaces here, or somewhere here. See, when there are spaces, they will always leave the space. But you can have your menu organized well. You could have your menu organized well. So you see these are on the same line now. So if I can reduce a bit, you'd see that you'd have your code like that. So you want to organize your code well so that it's readable. So you click on a something, you press tab. They will organize it for you. You click tab. So this one should be inside. That paragraph should be inside. The other one should be inside, like that. So this should be inside. This should be inside. That should be a bit inside. And then this should be there. So this is the right column. So all these again shouldn't be here. If we put it at the edge, so this should be pushed inside a bit. This here. All these here should be inside that. It's good to indent so that your code is more readable. So if I run this in the browser, okay, okay. I said localhost, I went to Beast to CSS, Beast B, and I looked for the file called 2 columns. I zoom in. Let me just reset this. So I would have something like that. So I should be having a Makerere logo there, but this file is not there. So I've got the same Mac, I have my logo here. So now you're going to see issues that we have here. You see how the logo looks like? This isn't good really. You can't have such a logo. So you don't want to have such a logo. You see, it's a bit squeezed. Like I told you, if you put both width and height, you will get that. If you just want, just leave one thing. Just leave one value, and then you'll have your image like that. See, that looks better. Now, these are not the colors of Makerere, right? We don't use pink and the rest. So you can change some of these colors. You could change some of these colors. So how do you pick the colors of Makerere, for example? So I will use my tool. Let me first run a virtual machine. And then that will help me. Will help me choose the best color. So I didn't run my windows well that time, so I just press enter. So let me run this virtual machine. And I show you how you can pick colors from a logo. I'll show you how to pick colors from a logo because it's important. So I'll use the same application. You could use any other application to pick the colors, but me I'll use Fireworks. Not Firefox, but Fireworks. And then I'll pick for you some of the colors for Makerere. So we need somewhere to write them because I can't memorize all those colors. Let's pray that the virtual machine works enough. Okay. Oh, we are telling you my internet connection is unstable. The type of internet that I have, that is not possible. Zoom should be lying to us. So let me. Yeah, so you could do lots of things. I've just removed all the windows because my machine was a bit hanging. So still running the virtual machine. So just give it just a minute. Sorry, I'd muted. And stop sharing, but it's not responsive. Just a minute. don't see this one working anyway. Okay. This machine has become too slow. I need to add some RAM because the virtual machine is becoming so heavy. Okay. I want to stop sharing, but it's not, not active. Okay, just a minute. Coding. Okay, so I talked about how you can pick colors from an image like this one here. So if I wanted to pick, for example, this red here, then I would just come here where you see a color picker here. You see this? And I would click on it. Then I would move the cursor. You see, they give me a pointer that is like a pen up to the color I want. So if I move my cursor to this color here, you see, they will give me the code. So that code for that logo is ED1C24. So I can know that color. If I wanted to pick this other color, this other green, I would see that it's hash 00A651. Because there are times when you do a system and someone tells you those are not our colors. So they want you to pick colors from your from the logo. So if you wanted to pick such a color from the logo, you could just pick it like that. Of course, this is black. This is just 00. So just keep moving your cursor until you get the color that you're interested in. So yeah, that's how they pick the colors. Then you can now go back. You can now go back to your code and use the same colors. So let me open brackets and see how we can apply some of these colors. So as I open brackets, I be looking for, this was the one. So I be looking for the colors. So okay, so I could look for, the other one was a 2 column. So I can go to, so you see the color that we're using there, I think was this. How many times is this appearing? It's only once. This is the bold background color. This is a bit lighter. But the actual colors that we use on the other side was the one for Makerere logo. See this color? This is the one that is for the logo. So now I can put the color of Makerere. I could use the green one. I think the green one is the common one. So 00. You see, we have 00. We have A6 and 51. This is a nice green color. So you could change some of these colors to whichever color that you want. So you see, now it's starting to look like a Makerere logo. So I would change this other left also. The left I think takes this color here. This is the wrapper. You see this one has a color white, color black. Now the color black, but the logo has a background color of this, and the content has some other color. So you could keep changing the colors until you get whatever you want. So you could change this to a gray, for example. Since Makerere uses black, so this is for the links. So I could put the other red color. So I could say ED. It doesn't matter whether they are lowercase or uppercase, it still works. ED 1C and then 24. So you see, I can change parts and things change this side. What did I change? Did I save? Which color did I change? I changed this. Okay. Looking for the other color. Not seeing it. Let's see. This is the right color. This is the left color. This is the wrap. Okay. So you can keep changing these colors until you get. So these, of course, these links are blue because that's the default, right? That's the default for links. So if you wanted to define a style for the links, you could still define it whenever you want. So let me just put that color there. And you see, you'll have that red color, though red with the blue that don't usually match well. So you could just define CSS for your links. So the links are in the left column under class navbar. So I could say all my links, they have been defining it. So A, and then I could say color. And I say which color is good on red. Could even say white. White would look better on the red. You see that? So you can change this. Then you can start putting other things. So you could say links are all supposed to be white, but you could say if you hover on a link, so for example, hover, then you could just give it a color. Color that is gray, grayish. So I could say hash 4444. This is gray, right? Though it's a dark gray. So if I refresh this and I hover, you see how it changes to some gray color. So you can write CSS to improve that page the way you want. So I'll share all this and you'll be able to play around with them. Now, I've been telling you about the tutorials I've put in the slides. So Tutorial Republic has good, has even better things. So if you search for Tutorial Republic and you go to CSS, see me, what I've taught is just, I think, the basic and then the box model. Now, advanced, you do more things. So if you want to change things like cursors, if you're tired of this, the normal cursor, you could change. You could change such things. So you see, when you move text here, it becomes like this. When you move it on a heading, it's like that. So So you can change cursors to whatever you want. So you see, those cursors are different. You know, when I zoom in, it becomes bigger. The cursor becomes big over. So there are so many things. So there's this resize, you know, the resize. So they show you so many things. Scroll, like a hand for scrolling. So you can change them to see that other symbol. So you just write code to actually do that. So you can say cursor. You see, you haven't taught things like cursor default, cursor none, cursor content menu, blah blah. So these are all things that you could learn from this tutorial. So please, in your free time, go through these tutorials. If you want to do 2D, 3D, they are all here. If you want to do animations, they are all there. There's this opacity that I did with an image, but you could do it with CSS. You see, you could say opacity. So you see these images. I could reduce the opacity of an image by doing this. But this one I think happens for images, but I don't think it can work for backgrounds. So you see, if you want to, when someone moves a cursor, the image becomes brighter. Moves the cursor, it becomes brighter. Moves the cursor, it becomes brighter. So you can play around with these opacities or things. So please go through these tutorials. And there's also W3 schools. So you always refer to these just in case you want to do something. You want to change the cursor, you want to change any other thing. So you go through them. And so this for W3 schools, I liked they show you something they teach you here. Where are these things there? Website layouts. So you see how they split their things. So they can have a header, a navigation, some content here, main content, and some other content there, then a footer. So you can write CSS to create that. So you see, this is the CSS for the header. This is the CSS for the navigation. You can do links, you can do hovers. So you have something like that. Go through these tutorials. So there's one column, there's two columns, there's three columns. So you can try all this. So this is how you create columns. You've seen websites with columns. You can also write the code for columns. You can have one that is big and the other ones are small. They show you how to do the footer. It's just simple background color, text align, and then the padding. You have your footer. Then you can combine all those things and have your website. So look through all these. And please, so they show you drop down menus or menus, how you can do such a menu. They show you the code that you need to write. So you go through all these tutorials, try out the codes. You can try it yourself here and see what you get. This is how they do drop down menus. So if you wanted to do a drop down menu for your coursework, you just do that. So please go through these tutorials. And if you have questions, you could come to me, or you could. So these are things I taught for the pseudo elements. First letter, you could do. So remember all these after marker. So you could try out all these and see what happens. So you see now for selection, it becomes yellow because I've said every time they select anything, please color it. Give it a background of yellow and color it red. So that's why the text is red. And so these are all things you could do for your site. Yeah, so go through those tutorials. Those tutorials are in our document in the slides. I'm going to share the slides just in a few. And Next time we'll start with with JavaScript. Next time we are doing JavaScript. So all the best. If you have any questions, you could ask. If you don't, we call it a day. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, I think we don't have any questions. So have a good afternoon.